So yeah, thanks for everyone joining, and we'll jump right into it. So I wanted to kick things off and let the Pixion team introduce themselves. We'll go through one by one, and we have four of them here. So thank you all for joining. So let's Chala, why don't we start out with you? I know you and I have been talking a lot. Why don't you give a quick intro, and then we'll go to your team members.
Sure, awesome. Hi everyone, I'm Chaula. I'm the brand manager at Pixion Games. I'm responsible for creating the brand strategy, marketing, and go-to-market plan for Fableborne. My background is centered around game publishing, biz dev, basically shipping games to the market at the intersection of business and product side of things. Before Pixion, I was previously part of Zeptalab, the team behind Bullet Echo and Cats, these multiplayer games with millions of active users. Before that, I was part of Yodowan Games, Alex Games, and a couple others. And I've been a blockchain and crypto investor myself since 2017, I guess. I've been through a couple of bull and bear market, but I'm still here. Never stop building.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for sticking with it. And we're really excited that you're
Yes,
here now with Pixion
definitely.
and bringing this skill set to Avalanche. All right. Why don't Cam, since you're the founder, why don't we go to you next?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm Cam, also known as Camel on our Discord. If you're around, say hello. I'm the founder and CEO of Pixion. And really, I've been a competitive gamer since I was 14. Gaming's always been something that I've been passionate about. And I've been lucky enough to work in the industry for over 10 years. And it really started by building out the Yu-Gi-Oh brand for Konami in Europe. And after that, I started to build out their competitive gaming and esports scene almost 10 years ago. Back then, we called it organized play, which doesn't quite have a ring as esports does now, but it's essentially the same thing. As time passed on, I found it really hard to stay competitive as a gamer or find time to compete for those top tier rewards. And as a result, I really just fell behind. And that's actually one of the reasons, one of the few reasons why I founded Pixion, to solve this problem that I know many players face. In addition, and as like Chowler, I've been involved in the crypto and blockchain scene since 2017, survived the crash of 2018. I also advise Vivi, one of the largest mobile digital collectible marketplaces. I see a few familiar faces in the crowd as well, so good to see them here. So multiplayer gaming and competitive gaming always has been at the center of what I do, and combining both those passions was really easy choice when founding Pixion. And so now I have the privilege of working with incredible people in this incredible team to build our vision of lunchtime esports.
Awesome. That's great that you're able to join us today, and thanks for the intro. So why don't we kick it over to Lucas? Lucas, you want to give a quick intro?
Yes, of course. So hey everyone. I'm Lucas. I'm online better known as Baskerville, especially on Discord. And I'm the communications manager at Pixion Games, where I am mainly responsible for the social media strategy, building up our customer support, and then, of course, also developing our community. I have been in the gaming industry for over 10 years now, which makes me feel really old now, but it's probably the same for everyone. And I was working on games in the past like Wildstar, Guild Wars 2, Blade and Soul, when I was working for NCSoft. And previously, I've been also working on mobile games for Ubisoft in the past, where I was managing their community management, customer support, and content marketing teams. And yeah, now I'm here, and it's very exciting to work with all the people. As Cam said, everyone is super passionate and super professional, and I'm just really, really eager to see where it all goes.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for the intro. And then finally, why don't we go over to Christoph?
Sure thing, yeah. Hi, my name's Christoph. I am here to represent the game design team on Pixion side. So I'm just one of the currently 3 designers that we have. I'm also like a little bit on the, I guess, older side. I don't feel that old, Lucas, though. So I've been in games for 10 years as well, like a little over 10 years now. Worked on mobile games, on console games, PC titles. I have been designing city building games, adventures, strategy games, puzzle games. Yeah, lots of games. Like I have always been a player, of course. I also like got introduced to blockchain in I think early 2017. So I did see the ICO bubble burst and the following 2018 crash. But yeah, I'm still here as well, still developing, and I'm really in love with crypto and see that paradigm shift come and that free to play offered first, and now we're here, right?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's awesome to hear the diversity of background, but it sounds like the whole team kind of came from different parts of the gaming space to bring their expertise into Web3 gaming. So that's really exciting and really excited to dive in here. And of course, we also have with us Ed Chang, our director of gaming at Avalabs, also founder of Twitter Spaces because he's done so many of these. So Ed, I will let you take it away from here.
Thanks, Kyle. It's great to be here. I'm Ed. I oversee our gaming BD here at Avalabs. I do get the privilege of being on almost feels like weekly spaces with different up and coming game teams, and really excited and honored to be here with the Pixion Games team. I've also had the privilege of getting kind of the early test builds, and I've been addicted to playing the game. So really excited for the world to hopefully see relatively soon. But let's jump right into it. We've you guys have kind of built this as a game that's play to own, and we've heard this said by kind of Shrapnel as well, another AAA game coming to Avalanche that we're excited about. But would love to hear in your team's own words, what play to own means to you and how that's different from something like play to earn.
Right. Okay. I can take this one. So, as we all know, right, in the current Web2 free-to-play games, currently there is no sense of true ownership. If can be, pretty straightforward. Player can spend a lot of time playing free-to-play game. Finally being able to acquire some characters, land, progress, leveling up, and so on. But in the end of the day, nothing really guarantee that they will own all of this quote unquote investment, right? And we see this as the problem. And sure, the current play to earn NFT model is also somewhat offering this ownership solution, but we found that the focus of the current model is leaning toward encouraging player to play the game so that they can earn some money in the end. And to be honest, reality in this, many Web2 players nowadays, we don't really care if we can earn some money from playing the games. We just want to have fun. And also, not everyone can purchase an expensive in-game assets upfront or even before the game is available to play. Um, we don't think it's wrong or anything. We just thought that this model can be improved, and there's where this play to own is here to give some value. In Fableborne, we're committing to deliver the game first and let player own their NFT through rewards that they can win from tournaments, um, from competing against each others. And in Fableborn, like absolutely anyone can play, and no one can and really doesn't really need to own or buy NFT to play the game. Like everyone can own and claim their NFT after playing and hopefully win the rewards. So yeah, that's
Got it. Very helpful.
yeah.
And let's actually take a step back and why don't you give us a quick intro of kind of the company and the game itself?
Yeah, I guess I can take that one. So Pixion right now, we're a team of 20, but growing all the time, and mostly based in Europe. We've got individuals from 10, 11 different countries. Fortunately, we have this incredible talent, though. We've got individuals that have worked on some of the most successful multiplayer games coming from studios like Ubisoft, Sony, Activision, and had a huge amount of success. So with that success, we really came together a few years ago to build something that we're super passionate about. And I'll summarize that North Star that guides us for everyone listening. It's really what we call building competitive multiplayer games that are mobile first but cross-platform in this new category that I mentioned earlier called lunchtime esports. And perhaps later on we can talk more about that. But Fableborne is the first game that we're releasing in this new category. And the best way to describe Fableborne, I always say, is think of it as genre mashing base builders with action RPG. So think of Clash of Clans meets Diablo, but instead of dragging and dropping your units like in most base builders and watching the action happen, you actually control it. You take a hero, you raid players' bases, and you decide the outcome. And so the goal with Fableborn was really, how do we create this familiar but fresh experience and innovate between those two genres? And super excited to start sharing and revealing more over coming weeks.
Nice. So, you've talked about the game being play to own, but you've also talked about, lunchtime esports and the Pixion League at the same time. So can you explain kind of those concepts as well?
Yeah, sure. So lunchtime esports, as I say, is this new category of gaming that we're championing, and really for us, that vision is underpinned by these three pillars that guide us internally to deliver that experience. And the first is, it always starts with a fun core, engaging core loop. Without that fun, we really have nothing to build upon. And so it always starts there. And our team have a few design rule sets that we always stick to when we're trying to build out a game. And the first is that it has to be playable in less than 5 minutes, so really appeals to that time-poor competitive player. And then secondly, skill generally comes from strategy and decision-making, and so that means we generally stay away from genres like FPS games where they're heavily skewed towards dexterity-based controls, for example. And then the second pillar that really guides us is what you just mentioned, is Pixion League. And Pixion League for us is, our goal with that is, how do we take the current esports ecosystem and shrink and lower the barrier to entry for more players to play competitively? And so what does that really mean for players, though? Essentially, within the same session, within the app, they'll be able to enter into a variety of different tournaments, different leagues, and most tournaments and different leagues will have different rewards, different winning conditions, different rule sets. So really keeping the engagement, but also the experience fresh week on week. And as I say, making it easier for more players to compete. And then third and finally is rewards, and essentially those rewards are powered by blockchain, really providing players with value, and they decide what that value is.
Nice. Okay. In the press release, it was said that Pixion has been, through a few different iterations of games before finding Fableborn. Can you talk about like that path and the strategy there?
Yeah, maybe I'll take this one as well. I promise I'll let everyone else speak too. But to find fun, I mentioned our first pillar is having this fun core, engaging core loop. To do that, we really had this 2-stage validation process internally, which we call kill continue development. And what that means is essentially we build a prototype, we play it internally, and as gaming professionals that have been in the industry for a decade plus, we play that and ask ourselves, do we have the conviction that this can be a category defining hit that we can onboard millions of players with? And if the answer is no, and we don't have that conviction, we kill it there and then. And if the answer is yes, we essentially polish that prototype into an MVP, and then always put it out into a stealth launch. And the goal about stealth launch is really to validate with players. Players never lie. They always tell us, is this game fun, as fun as you think it is or not? And if it is fun, we continue. If it's not, we kill. And over the last 3 years, we've killed 5 prototypes or games across that entire spectrum, from building something in a couple of weeks, playing it internally and looking at each other and thinking, guys, actually, this sucks. It's not the one, kill it now, to building something internally thinking, okay, this is really fun, but again, let's put it out. Let's get some data. Let's understand what players think. And players telling us, no, actually, Pixion, this is not fun. It sucks too. Kill it. And so we've killed it, even if we've spent a year developing. To where we are now with Fableborne, where we've been building for more than 18 months. We built the prototype, and internally we were super bullish. So we polished that out into an MVP. And between July and November last year, we put it out into a series of stealth launches in a number of different geos around the world. And we got some really strong data. And for us, that first pillar that I mentioned, finding the fun, having that engaging core loop, we sort of internally checked that box of we've now got that core ingredient, that core loop that we can start building upon.
Yeah, that's impressive. I think with the resume and the companies that your team has worked at in Web2 gaming, it makes a lot of sense that iteration and build and test, something that I think a lot of Web3 games can borrow in terms of your strategy. Web3 gaming is still relatively new, so kind of building that community and user acquisition is an interesting topic. Like, what is Pixion Games' plan in building community? How has the community reacted so far to leaks or announcements that your team has made?
Okay, I'll take that one because it's a really cool question. So, we just announced the game last week, and we got a quite decent organic influx already on Discord, which is really, really great. But, with all community building, it's still a long way to go. We actually intentionally did not share too much information about the game with the announcement, because we want to really build up the excitement over time. And from what we've seen so far, the response from the community is really great, and people are super excited. So our plans for that in terms of content will be just sharing more content over the next couple of weeks and months, and build up really that excitement. For me, it's just really, really important to share quality information. And at the same time, we really want to be transparent with our community as much as possible. Just thinking back on my previous jobs, to be honest, I'm quite exhausted of corporate speech. So what you can expect is just genuine interactions with the community and genuine and honest information from us. With more concrete plans. So I think building communities in Web3 spaces is very similar and completely different to Web2 at the same time. So it's really weird sometimes. And I think you can run into the risk to be too transactional with a lot of things. So, for example, you could just immediately start with hey, here's a whitelisting. And then, your social media channels are blowing up. But in the end, you're just obtaining the wrong users, right? And the thing is, for us, Fableborne, is a real game. So if you have a game with just investors, it's basically a dead game. So for us, it's really important to engage with the actual players that will actually play our game and keep them interested, keep them joining on our journey, which means we really want to grow our community more organically over the next months. But at the same time, we also want to, reward the participation in the community. And sometimes it can be really difficult, I think, in terms of, people joining the community quite late and then being a little bit overwhelmed. So when we do the community building or when we, start with our events, there will be always an entry point for you. And you will always be welcome and be able to engage and participate in activities, regardless if you join now or in a couple of months.
That sounds super exciting. I've been in the Discord and people are super excited, and it's been growing steadily. So congratulations on all that. How has the transition been from Web2 gaming into Web3 gaming, and kind of the response again from the team and the community from that?
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned, obviously, over the last few years, we've been building and killing and building and killing lots of different prototypes. And first and foremost, our goal has always been, our lunchtime esports vision has always been to create these games that can be played in short snackable sessions with Pixion League as the infrastructure to enter into competitions easily, and then have these rewards that allow players to create value. And it was only once we killed our fifth prototype and we started to work on Fableborne, and we started to really analyze and look deeper into Web3, so blockchain technology and NFTs. And as we went further down into that rabbit hole, we saw that actually it allowed us to really create these superior experiences where players could compete and own these NFTs. And it really aligned with our vision. And so we leaned fully into Web3 gaming from there and started to build out Fableborne with that in mind. In terms of a response, as I say, the focus has always been games first. So it was tempting to, release NFT sales or do an IDO last year in the bull run, but we didn't have the game then. We didn't have the polished core loop, and we always stuck back to that first pillar that guides us that I mentioned, is how do we build this core loop, and have we found fun? And so I think the team's hard work is paying off. We announced a couple of days ago we've already got a few thousand players enter into our Discord, and as I say, super excited to start sharing more over the coming weeks.
Yeah, and we'll kind of talk about milestones kind of later in this conversation. But and I ask this every time, we are on the Avalanche Twitter handle, and you've obviously made the choice to come build here. Why did you guys choose Avalanche to build Fableborne on?
Yeah, maybe I'll take that one too. A few reasons. I won't go too technical, and our tech director Sam's not here, but I'll try to cover some of those points. Three main areas really. The first, the Avalanche consensus system was super robust. We were really happy with it from a security point of view, which from a blockchain gaming perspective obviously is paramount. And secondly, the ability to really spin out and build our own subnet. Our goal is really to bridge a gap between Web2 and Web3 gaming, and to do that we have to create this frictionless environment, right? And being able to spin out our own subnet and not have to worry about congestion on the chain or substitute gas fees with our own native token. It just helps us to onboard those millions of Web2 players and create this frictionless environment. And then third and finally, you guys, the Avalanche team, obviously, Ed, we've been speaking for quite some time, and obviously your background with EA and esports, but the entire Avalanche team that we've shown the game to, that we presented our lunchtime esports vision to, you guys were super passionate and really excited about what we're trying to do, and we're already going to build on Avalanche, and that just made the decision even easier.
Yeah, that's awesome. When you announced yesterday, I went through our correspondence, and we first started talking in January. So it's been crazy to see the team grow.
It's been some time, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think you touched upon this, but what is the Fableborne's plans with Avalanche integration? Like, to what extent can we expect of what you can share?
Yeah, maybe I can touch on that. It's pretty much what Cam already mentioned, right? First off, we have to really keep building the game. We are building the game as we speak, like quite literally, right? So first off, we really have to get all the pieces in line and then start integrating all the important features on chain. We probably won't do everything on chain. I'll maybe touch on that later on, but generally speaking, first off, building the game kind of continuously. Then there will probably be some cool NFTs coming around that we are going to sell, and yeah, bridging the gap that, like Carl mentioned, right? in order to do that, we really are trying to create a game that is not just successful, but a hit game. And in order to get those Web2 users, like millions of users, we need this very robust system. And Carl mentioned frictionlessness, extremely important. Like for us, it is also very important that we can integrate our own token for to use as to be used as gas, for example, right? So players won't need any kind of additional tokens in their wallets, but can just use like our native token for transactions. I think that's also very important, just as as features. So I guess short term, just keep playing the game. Then midterm, NFTs post alpha, and then later on subnets down the line. Long term vision, yeah, for sure.
You guys are saying the S word a lot, subnets. It's music to our ears. What I think a lot of people are in this space who are excited about the game to hear is my next question, which is, what can you tell us about Fableborn's high-level roadmap and plan?
Okay, so I'll take that one again. So yeah, maybe to just quickly go regarding like roadmap in general. So of course, like every future plans, they're always subject to change because they are always depending on internal dependencies. So you can never be 100% sure that something goes horribly wrong or incredibly well, to be honest. So take it with a grain of salt, and see roadmaps more like as a sophisticated estimate and internal commitment. But I think with that being said, we do have a lot of quarterstones planned already that you can see on the website. But also going back to the point of being honest, funnily, we had an internal discussion over the last few days, and there are actually some changes that I might be able to share now, if that's all right, because I think it's important to let you know what changed basically. So what we've decided, and that was not an easy decision, to be honest, is that we initially wanted to do the sale before the alpha, and we actually decided that will not longer be happening. And I know that's big news to some probably, but we've decided to push the sale after the alpha. And there are very good reasons for that, to be honest. And one is really, really simple. For us, strategy-wise, it just made more sense at this point that we want our community to play the game before we sell anything. And I know that sounds a little bit bullish, but we know that the gameplay is there. We are super convinced that the game will work for people. And with the recent uncertainties in the Web3 space in general, we just believe that a good game will convince people to join and purchase rather than the other way around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. You're betting on yourselves and the product. Cool. So this game is a blockchain game. NFTs are going to be involved. I think Chala had talked about how it's free to play, and then you have the ability to mint NFTs. But can you tell us about the NFT collection that you're planning to launch and when? So you talked about a little bit about the alpha, but can you talk a little bit more about the collection itself?
Sure. So can give you guys a little bit of backstory. In Fableborn, we will have dozens of heroes, different elements, different lore, skill set, ability, and so on. But our very first collections will be about these 3 classes of Fableborn heroes that we call it echoes of heroes. So this echoes is technically shards of our characters. And as like Cap and also Lucas mentioned previously, we plan to launch actually these echoes after we actually launch our alpha build, and that's the exciting part. Actually, player will be able to play our alpha build first before purchasing the NFT, and that is just also part of our strategy. We want to make sure that player know what they're getting into, what they're investing in. Do they even like the games? Also, which heroes they can relate to, and so on. Also, on the other hand, from our side, it will motivate us more to make sure that we are delivering, a good gaming experience at first. And touch a little bit into the play to own mechanism, players will be able to get the NFT just by playing and like participating in the tournament inside of Fableborne. So that is also one of exciting parts in this game.
Yeah, I'm so excited to learn more about the heroes and the other NFTs.
Yeah.
What about like what so just summarize for us, what parts of the gameplay will be on chain and what can you say about gameplay in general? It's complex and it's fun.
Oh, that's definitely for me. Yeah. Gameplay. Yeah, let me start with the general gameplay. Cam already mentioned, like, imagine Diablo meets like Clash of Clans, right? Where you have that tactical, strategic part in the defensive base building. You create your base, you make sure that is raid secure, so to speak, right? But at the same time, you want to invest your resources maybe in your echoes, in your heroes, and use those to attack. So there's some sort of tension going on where you cannot do both at the same time fully. So you will have to commit, and there's lots of other tensions within your base, right? Where your buildings either produce resources, for example, or provide defense, and you kind of have to choose all the time. And the basic core loop boils down to you using your echoes to raid other islands in order to gain resources, which you then use on your buildings or on your island, basically, right? You might even produce some other things that are not like echo NFTs, but something else. You might mint something else, right? And then use those in order to improve your echoes then again and attack other bases. So that's the basic core loop. There will be more features to it, specifically like the Pixion League that was mentioned, where you fight in PvP tournaments in high stakes fashion. There might be some other PvE features in there as well for everybody who isn't like super down to for all the tension of PvP fights, for all the competitiveness. Beyond that, way more features down the line. I don't want to spoil too much. That's Luca's job. And regarding what will be on chain, we will try, at least at the beginning, to keep all the smart contract interactions very low for the sake of like performance and friction. Obviously, ownership will always be like there, right? True ownership. Beyond that, we really pick and choose what features we want to integrate on chain very carefully, because we feel that we want to have a good reason to do that. And it's kind of also a quality check for specific features, right? And if you can find interesting new things that maybe weren't possible with Web 2 or that worked very differently in Web 2, right? And that's the stuff we want to bring on chain. But beyond that, try to keep it low, try to keep it performant first, at least, to see how everything works out. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of really interesting, technical design decisions that are going into this. What about a community governance plan? Is there anything in the works for that for Fableborne?
Yeah, of course. So I think that's a very good point to go over. So maybe going back to when I joined Pixion, actually, I did a lot of studying on a lot of blockchain games. And for me, it's very apparent that governance in games, in Web3 games, is an integral part. So, of course, it's part of Fableborne. But I think where many projects actually could improve is that they're very, very specific to Web3, right? So that's not a bad thing per se, but it makes the entry point for people from Web 2 very difficult. Going back to the previous point of like accessibility and bridging that gap between Web 2 and Web 3. So what we'll do over the next months, first and foremost, to like really lay that foundation, is to educate people about Web3, about blockchain, so it's not too complicated for them to understand how blockchain games in general work and how governments would work, right? And at that point, we'll be able to share more about governments. And maybe just going like, to give you some of the vision, right? I would say we probably will be able to share more about governments after we've shared our light paper and the tokenomics in general. Because, to be honest, it doesn't make too much sense to talk about it in detail before those 2 milestones. But since I want it to be a very integral part of the game overall, and that it doesn't mean like it needs to be in the app, right? Because Fableborne is a mobile-first game. It doesn't need to be in the app, but it needs to be an integral part of the game. So my intent is that it feels like it's part of the game, and it's not like something that is just external somewhere on a Discord server, right? And we have not unveiled it yet, our plans in general for some events that we're doing in the future, but they will be heavily skewed towards faction within Fableborne. And with the governance aspect as well, when there are factions, there are also faction political things happening in the background. So that is a very interesting approach, and we'll be excited to share more about it in the near future, so stay tuned.
Great. Last question for me, so just tell us, what are the next milestones for Fableborne? What can we expect in the near future?
Okay, maybe that's a point for me as well. So we've talked already a little bit about what lies further ahead. So I will just tease a few things that will happen soon. The community already started asking quite a bit when the whitelisting will start, and it will start certainly in the near future. But we'll announce it at a later date. But I can maybe go over a few things that we think it's really important when we do that. So when we are going to do the whitelisting, there will be a few twists to it, of course. And there will be plenty of ways to enter the whitelisting over the next months. And sometimes it will be easy, but then not guaranteed. And sometimes it will be a proper full event where you get a guaranteed whitelisting slot actually at the end. So, for example, maybe to not share too much details, but we are working actually on a seasonal event format that will actually happen throughout the next months in with various challenges. So it's super exciting, super great for community building, but we'll share that when the time comes, of course. What you can expect maybe in terms of content over the next weeks and months. We will put a lot of focus and attention on our heroes and their story, because when we thought about the backstory of our heroes and their character in general, we felt like that most of the NFT games, they don't really have characters with compelling lore or background, and there's no emotional connection. And we really want to nail that point. We really want to focus on our heroes, build up their lore, their story. So that will be very, very cool to do. But of course, we'll share more information about it also in the near future, relatively soon, I think. But what's also a good cue is to just say, if you want to know more about the game in general, and if you are interested into following the project, you can join the community at discord.gg/Fableborne, or join us on Twitter at twitter.com/Fableborne, or the Telegram space that lo and behold also is called /Fableborne.
Yeah, so as Lucas said, if you're interested in the game, the best way to stay in touch with the team is on Discord, discord.gg/Fableborne. They've posted some really awesome stuff already, and you can just get involved with other fans. And then you can go to their website as well, fableborne.com. You can see the roadmap. You can pre-register. So a lot of exciting things coming down the pipe. We've got some Discord community questions, and then we want to take some questions from the audience, if that's okay with the Pixion Games team. So the first Discord community question that we have here is, to what game can we compare Fableborne to the most in terms of gameplay?
Christoph, do you want to take that one, or shall I?
Well, no, go ahead. That's fine.
Cool. So we mentioned already, obviously, we've taken a lot of inspiration from, various action RPGs, both hardcore like Diablo, but much simpler ones like Archero on mobile as well. And we've had a look at a number of different base builders, and Clash of Clans obviously is one of the main ones on mobile. But we've looked at a variety of different games across those two genres, and as I say, really thought about how do we innovate between the two to create this familiar and fresh experience.
Cool.
Like I can't wait till we show some gameplay, to be honest. That makes it so much more tangible. But it's like, yeah, a lot of fun.
Me too. I'm trying to be very careful about what I say because, yeah, it's exciting. Second question: do you have an economics expert designing these tokenomics?
Oh God, expert. So I guess that's a question for me. So like I said, I've been in games for 10 years, and I've designed economies from the ground up. I've managed base building economy games that had hundreds of thousands of users. But that said, it is very interesting or important to mention that Web2 economies and Web3 economies are extremely different. So as a Web2 game designer, you don't have to worry about stuff like cap supply or immutability, like taxes, or you're not responsible for token value retention and things like that, right? So that it's way more akin to just a regular economy, like your government, the government that you're living under has. That being said, though, we are like acutely aware of all the pitfalls that can come with economies that when maybe games like really boom or really widely successfully launch, right? But are dead 6 months after because they didn't introduce enough or well-oiled things, or maybe the entire thing was just a Ponzi, right? It's just we are looking at a lot of projects, like trying to learn from all the good things from good projects, but also from the good things that maybe projects with good intentions had. Beyond that, like I really make it my main focus to have this topic like nailed down to the point, right? Of course, we will simulate things, but you can only simulate so much. But just as an example, right? Because we want to be very careful with how we introduce blockchain, and we don't want to tarnish the space even more, because there has to be there were some bad things happen, and we don't want to be part of that. We really want to create something really good with like a great experience, obviously. So we will be very careful in how we introduce or generate the token in game, for example. I will make sure that there will be enough very high utility things for the token so that players don't just drain the entire economy, which will not happen. I promise you, can't happen. We make sure of that. Beyond that, like we kind of really doubling down on that, and maybe I don't know if we can share that, Cam, but there's also like a certain somebody that we are looking to onboard in the near future. I don't know if you want to say something about that as well.
Yeah, so I think we can. It's all wrapped up. As Christoph mentioned, we've got 3 very experienced game designers, all have worked on some incredible games and deep economies. And the goal for us was really create this hybrid design team, those with incredible experience in the Web2 space, and then those with Web3. And Christoph obviously straddles the Web3 line, Nikolai and Vanessa on the Web2 side, and we just hired the lead economy designer working on one of the Gala games in that ecosystem for the last 18 months. Just released a 30 million NFT sale, and although that's not the route we're going for, we're super bullish on creating that hybrid game design team that we believe gives us the edge and also the experience to navigate some of these challenges that Christoph just mentioned.
Wow, super exciting. You heard it here first, public. Last Discord community question, and then if anybody in the audience wants to ask the team any questions, go ahead and request, and then Kyle will kind of take care of that session. But the last community question here was, hi team, have you established a deep lore on Fableborne? Have you developed characters, storyline, lore? If not, do you intend to develop that aspect?
Yeah, so I can maybe speak about that a little bit. we have actually somebody in the team, our narrative designer. Shout out to Alex. Amazing job. Usually you don't have lore in mobile games. Usually, right? It's not a core aspect. But we go a completely different route. Because again, like we feel that a lot of games in the Web3 space, but also the mobile space, they don't really emphasize on lore at all. They don't build an emotional connection to the characters really, and we really want to change that. Fableborne has a quite substantial lore already, and we're still working on a lot of aspects. Because again, like the game is still in development, all right. But it's really interesting, and it's really fleshed out already. But we have a lot of ideas how to share that lore, and I think that's the more important point. How do you engage players with the lore, and not just share blog article, because that's not really what we want to do. We will share a blog article about game lore in the near future, so stay tuned about that. But how we will deliver that lore, like the whole lore over time, will be very specific and very interesting to see how it turns out.
Yeah, I think just to add on Luke's point is we want to go a step further than just dropping, a Medium article or some content, and really think about how do players feel like they're part of the world and the ecosystem that we're building. So super excited to share more soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much to the Pixion Games team for kind of taking us through this, and we're so excited about Fableborne. I think we've got some time left for questions from the audience. So, if there's anybody that is looking to ask the team some questions, Kyle's gonna take over here.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for joining. It was really, really interesting to see how it all came together and the diverse background of your team. So we have Chuck up. He's the first one here. Chuck, go ahead. And also as a reminder for anybody asking questions, we're honored to have the Pixion team here. So let's honor their time and focus all of our questions on this game and the upcoming launch. And then also as a reminder, you have to be on mobile to be a speaker. So Chuck, take it away.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to ask a question. Pixion, I've loved the presentation. I'm looking forward to seeing the game. I played Fable a long time ago, so this caught my eye right away. My question's around the game economy, and I was wondering how much of it will be on-chain, if it'll include the market or barter system and a token that'll be on-chain, the weapons and supplies and other gaming artifacts, or is it going to be focused on the hero NFTs themselves? Thanks again.
Yeah, I guess I can take that one. So we will I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, right? But everything that you mentioned makes perfect sense to have like on-chain, because we obviously will have a marketplace that will facilitate trades, and we also want players to interact with the world as much as possible. That being said, if you can imagine, like without saying too much, but if you imagine like RPG titles, many things make a lot of sense to be on chain, right? Items would perfectly make sense, I suppose. And it's not just heroes. There will be more things that you can experience. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know, Lucas. Can I do spoil more? Is that fine, or like? Or do you reckon I should cut it here?
I think we can spill a bit more without being super detailed on exact tokenomics.
Because I think it's a good question, right? And from an investor point of view, you always want to know what's up, like what can I earn potentially, what can I own. I think that's really, really interesting. And if you think about like heroes or land or islands, potentially items, that we're pretty certain that all that stuff will be on chain. Beyond that, there might be more to it, but I'll cut it here just to make sure. Thanks for the question, though, Chuck.
You're getting some early leak here. Thanks for the question, Chuck.
Thank you. I'll drop back down and make room.
Awesome. Thanks, man. All right. Let's the next one up I think we had was here we go. Wizard. Let's add you up here. Let's see if this works. All right, go ahead. You're on mute. Can you try coming off here and see if it works?
Yeah, hello?
Yep, we got it. Go
Excellent.
ahead.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak, guys. Really excited about the game. Have been following it for quite some time. And my question is kind of more related to the native token that you guys have spoken about, that you kind of mentioned within the description of the game a bit. I kind of got on your guys' radar from, I believe it was the previous game, the 3 versus 3, that you guys were developing that you had killed. And I had noticed that there was a correlation between you and another crypto project through the Indeed, which was Ecomi. And I'm curious if you guys can expand a little bit upon the native token and if there's still a potential relationship between you and Ecomi and Omi token.
Yeah, maybe I'll take that one. I can't say too much right now about our native token and what that's going to be. And Christoph and Lucas, I'm sure over the next couple of weeks and months are going to be unveiling a lot of exciting information. Of course, I'm a big believer in BV. I invest in them and I advise them, but right now focus fully on Pixion, and we'll share more information when the time's right.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks. Great question. All right. The next one up I saw was Eric. Eric, let's try this out.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
All right, go for it. Yep.
Yeah. Hey. So my question is kind of about like in regards to the on-chain. What the previous person asked, but especially for people like myself that don't understand too much about blockchain, like how is this being deployed on the mobile app? Because my understanding, a lot of these play-to-earn games are sort of like on a PC. Is this like? It's like Avalanche has some sort of SDK for like mobile app developers. I'm just curious how all that's going to work.
Yeah, I can talk maybe a little bit to that, right? There's many issues currently with the app stores and regulations, where currently, basically we're not allowed to even mention that there is a token. What games do these days, in the hopes that hopefully everything will be a little more blockchain friendly in the future, is to link the wallet or link the wallet externally via website, via web portal, and then register the app to that web portal. So you will be able to have all that. So you might need to go online, right, with your wallet, register that on the website, and then basically integrate or link your wallet or actually the website to your game, basically. And that will allow you to then have the NFTs in the game without going through the app store itself, if that makes sense. If that was did that answer the question?
Yeah, so what you're saying is like sort of like the blockchain aspects of the game, being mobile is more in regards to the NFT capabilities, not necessarily like using the blockchain, functionalities within the app store or within the mobile game, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm sure maybe Lucas wants to speak to that as well. I don't
know. I think to be honest, the space right now is moving quite fast. So I think, we're still in development, right? And there will be changes further down the line, 100%. The place is so moving fast that we need to be, always prepared. So internally, I'm pretty sure that the team is able to handle like all those difficulties in the future. Really for us, it's just really, really important to, going back to the point of like accessibility. I think that's something to emphasize here as well, is that we'll really try to make sure that all the flows, like all the systems, are as frictionless as possible for everyone. But at this point, I think it's really hard to say something for certain, especially if we are still in development, and even if the alpha is a little bit far off yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe to add to that, the long-term vision is to have an experience, a game, like we want players to download the app, play the game, potentially not even notice that this is like a Web3 game, right? We want them to enjoy the game first. We want to build the fun and we want them to enjoy the game. And if they later find out that these are NFTs and NFTs are worth something and they can, take them into the marketplace and sell them, or maybe potentially into other games in the future, who knows, right? The space is evolving, like Lucas said.
Gotcha. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for the question. So we only have like 2 minutes left here, so we're going to wrap things up. Really, really grateful for the Pixion team for joining us, and really excited to see everything that's coming to life. I know there was a little bit of alpha leak and a little bit of stuff that's yet to come and yet to be discussed. So there's lots to look forward to. So make sure everyone jumps in their Discord, get to know the community, follow them on Twitter, check out their website. But yeah, I'll kick it back over to the Pixion team for any final closing thoughts and what people should look out for in the future.
Yeah, sure. Firstly, thanks for organizing this Twitter Spaces, and thanks for everyone for joining. We're super excited about sharing more about Fableborne. We passionately spent the last few years trying to find something that we believe is fun and players will really enjoy. And why I founded Pixion is to build these games that more players can compete in tournaments for the biggest rewards, and really excited to share how we can do that with Fableborne in the coming months.
Awesome. Yeah, really excited to see everything come to life. So thanks everyone once again for joining. Christoph, Lucas, Cam, Chala, thank you guys so much. Ed, once again, great work. We got lots more coming up. Stay tuned on our Twitter channel for more spaces coming up, more game announcements, more subnets, everything happening coming up soon. So thanks everyone for joining, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.